So I want to talk about this core wound in our society, this epidemic, this story of I'm not enough, right? Because we can project this scarcity mindset onto not enough time, not enough money, I'm not enough. Maybe it's I'm not a good enough mom, or I'm not good enough because I'm just a mom, or I'm not successful enough or spiritual enough, right? All these stories and conclusions that we can make up about our worth, about who we really are. And anything can trigger this story of not enough, this business venture that didn't go through, somebody leaving us, not getting the job, right? It can be our go-to conclusion for just about anything. And the unconscious belief is that if I fix something about myself, if I change something outside, then I won't feel this way. If I was prettier enough, smarter enough, more successful, then I wouldn't have to feel this. And then we end up going into society looking for ways to let life tell us that we are enough, right? We look for approval and attention and acceptance in the world. And I've found that there's 9 main core ways that we look for attention and approval in the world. Sometimes our personalities are set up so that we feel like we've got the job title or status to help not feel that way. Or maybe we want to be the one who knows, the intelligent one. We could feel like we are the helper, really helping others, so that then we feel this sense of security and safety in our lives. Lots of different ways that we can look for it, but it doesn't work, right? At least not for a sustainable period of time. And so I want to invite you to a deeper conversation and to look at these stories that we make about ourselves, because it's really the perspectives that is off. It has nothing to do with you. It's not about your worth. It's just your perspective that is off. And so it's not that you're not enough, your perspective isn't enough in that moment that you're believing it. So for example, just take your glasses. Imagine if you have glasses and there's a dent or scratch on it, and you're looking at a table and you're trying to fix that dent on the table when really the problem was in your perspective. And by taking that off, you no longer project that problem onto the world, onto life, right? Because the ego is really tricky. As soon as you see something a particular way, the mind will find evidence for why it's true. And if you don't change the structures of the mind, the ego is going to replace one problem with another, one worry with another. So you start waking up out of the trance of not good enough, and you start to feel your sense of aliveness, of radiance. And then you are still able to sit forward and create what it is you're wanting to in the world without the drama, without getting in your own way. So let me ground this a little bit. There was a client who came to see me, and he was in negotiations with somebody around doing some type of a partnership. And they proposed something which to him felt really low. And so he was feeling really paralyzed and thinking, they didn't really respect me. They don't value me. And really, it had nothing to do with him. So we just slowed it down so he can really see that these were assumptions that his mind was making up. Because we didn't know if they couldn't afford it, right? Maybe they were stingy, or they just had hired somebody else in his profession and they thought they were giving him a deal compared to what they had done before. We didn't really know. And so by him starting to wake up to this and say, oh, this isn't really about me, then he was able to have an honest conversation about what worked for him and what didn't, without the drama. And so the first step is really the awareness. Having the awareness is key. So I really want to make sure that you get this, because if you're making this conclusion that you're not good enough, it's just a habit of thinking. It's not true, and it's just feedback that you're caught in a story in that moment. And the more you wake up to that story, the more you weaken the pattern of it. And that's the good news. It's not like you even need to change anything, because it's not true, right? You are more than enough. And so take the analogy of somebody sleeping and they're having a nightmare. So rather than going back into your dream to try to fix the nightmare so it's happy, you just wake up from it. It's the same thing with this. This is an illusion. It's just a thought-based experience that the mind projects onto life. This story of I'm not good enough. And moment to moment, the way that you can break it is by bringing awareness to it, just dropping it, not beating it, and you feel your sense of power. You feel how capable you are. You feel your wholeness. And I want that for you. When you're not lost in stories about how you're not good enough, you actually start to experience this for yourself, because we're not adding to anything, you're just removing the clouds that block this awareness and this experience. And so as you start waking up to this for yourself, you not only get to enjoy this, but you bless everyone else around you. And I'm here to remind you that you are so much more than you could ever imagine yourself to be. And I'm here to remind you of how incredible you already are. And if there's somebody in your world that needs to hear this message, share it with them. Let them know that you are here for them and that you see them.